First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me to join this regional air quality conference, which I attended before, back a few years ago. And I understand that the key topic here is how to control air pollution. Back a few years ago, I wrote a book on economics of air pollution, which included a section on green finance. I think that was a very important origin of my work when I joined the central bank and began to lead the task force on green finance work. And a couple of years later, the Chinese authorities published the green finance guideline, which began to develop a system of green finance. And in the coming few minutes, I will describe the Chinese effort in promoting green finance in what I call quite systemic way. And then I will be speaking a few words on international collaboration and what the international communities can do to join the effort in China. Now, let me now just say a few words on what China has been doing in developing its green financial system. The system included what I call 4 pillars. The first pillar is taxonomy, which defines the green activity that the financial system should support. For example, the definition of green loans, definition of green bonds, and definition of green projects. And with these clear definitions, we can prevent greenwashing. Namely, some market players may want to get green money, but actually they want to use it for non-green purposes. This type of behavior can be prevented by a clearly stated taxonomy. The second pillar in China green financial system is the disclosure requirement, because green finance activities need to develop or yield green benefits. For example, reduction of air pollution, reduction of water pollution, or reduction of carbon. And for these projects to enjoy the benefits of green finance, they need to show that such benefits are indeed quantifiable and transparent. That's why we need to require the project owners to disclose such information to the lenders, investors, and the market as a whole. And in China, what we did was to move gradually from a semi-compulsory disclosure scheme towards compulsory requirement. By end of this year, regulators will issue regulation requiring all listed companies and all bond issuers to disclose environmental and climate information on a mandatory basis. The third pillar of the green financial system is the incentives. This is because many green projects, although they develop green benefits, but they are not profitable enough, and therefore they need to be supported by the authority in the form of fiscal or regulatory incentive, so that the ROE or return on investment can be higher in order to attract private sector participation. In this space, what we did was to introduce at the central bank level the re-lending facility. Namely, the commercial banks can borrow cheaply from central bank to finance green projects. And at the local level, many provincial and city level governments introduced interest subsidies and guarantees for green projects, so that they can be used to reduce funding costs or enhancing ROE for the green projects. The final pillar is what I call a suite of green finance products, because different projects will require different kind of funding. For example, some need short-term funding, some need long-term funding, some require money that can tolerate risks, and some may need risk management products such as insurance products. So over the past years, we have developed a system of these products, including the green loans, which now has outstanding amount of at least 11 trillion RMB, and 1.something trillion RMB worth of green bonds issued in the past 4 years, and 700 green funds, plus many innovative products such as green insurance, green ETF, green ABS, and so on and so forth. Now, move on quickly to the second topic on international collaboration. We have, in the past few years, engaged or promoted many formal international initiatives. For example, China was one of the founding members of the NGFS, which was formerly called the Central Banks and Supervisors Network for Greening the Financial System. Initially, when it was set up, it was only 8 central banks as a founding members. Now it's expanding to a network of more than 60 countries, central banks and supervisors. And it's developing a lot of initiatives to green the financial systems through regulations and supervisory guidance and so on and so forth. One of the recent efforts that's made by NGFS is to publish the environmental risk analysis methodologies, which was out only a few days ago on the website of the NGFS. And these methodologies will provide guidance to the banks, asset managers, insurance companies on how to quantify the credit and market risks arising from their environmental exposure. Just for example, if they are lending or investing in polluting or high carbon projects, these methodologies will tell them what are the non-performing loan ratio they will be seeing in the coming few years. By realizing that these investments will end up with bad loans or end up with reduction of asset values, these investors will be more cautious and will be incentivized to reduce exposure to such brown assets. The other initiative which China played a major role is the launch of the Green Investment Principles for the Belt and Road. As we understand, not only China is facing significant environmental and climate challenge, but also many other emerging market economies, especially those in the Belt and Road region. That's why efforts or collective efforts need to be made by China and many other countries to help promote green investments in these countries. That's why a set of principles were put out by China Green Finance Committee in the City of London in 2018, and now more than 37 global institutions have adopted these principles. The principles have organized a couple of working groups to improve the transparency and risk management practices of our members. And we're going to hold the second annual conference of the Green Investment Principle later part of this month. I think global investors and other market participants can participate in many of these international initiatives, including through GIP, and also utilizing the methodologies, especially environmental risk analysis methodologies as promoted by NGFS. And with these principles and methodologies, we are going to be helping improving the global environment, including reducing air pollution and also reducing the carbon emissions. So thank you very much again for inviting me to speak at this forum, and I wish the conference a great success.